Okay, so let's start off with some bad news, especially if you live in Oregon. I will do another video tonight, which is good news. And but let's just get to the bad news. Oregon governor signs a bill recriminalizing drug possession into law, which I hope he has a good reason, which I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that there's a good reason for this, but let's find out. Oregon's Democratic Governor Tina Kotek on Monday signed into a law a bill that recriminalizes the possession of small amounts of drugs, ending a first-in-the-nation experiment with decriminalization that was hobbled by implementation issues. Okay, so maybe that's why she signed it into law, because the implementation was a problem, which still sucks, but at least that sounds reasonable. The new law rolls back a 2020 voter-approved measure by making so-called personal use possession a misdemeanor punishable by up to 6 months in jail. It also establishes ways for treatment to be offered as an alternative to criminal penalties by encouraging law enforcement agencies to create deflection programs that would divert people to addiction and mental health services instead of the criminal justice system. Okay, so is that the new law or what the voters approved? I'm assuming that it's the new law, which, I mean, it's definitely good that they're treating these people that are in jail as those who need help breaking an addiction, as opposed to just throwing them in jail and throwing away the key. So, in a signing letter, Kotek said the law's success will depend on deep coordination between courts, police, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and local mental health providers, describing them as necessary partners to achieve the vision for this legislation. All right. Measure 110, approved by voters with 58% support in 2020, made the personal use possession of illicit drugs such as heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine only punishable by a ticket and a maximum fine of $100. Okay. Supporters said treatment is more effective than jail in helping people overcome addiction. Yes. And that the decades-long approach of arresting people for possessing and using drugs hasn't worked. Okay, so what implementation problems were we having? The law directed hundreds of millions of dollars in the state's cannabis tax revenue toward addiction services, but the money was slow to get out the door, and health authorities, already grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, struggled to stand up the new treatment system, state auditors found. At the same time, the fentanyl crisis began to spark an increase in deadly overdoses. Okay. So it sounds like the implementation was on the treatment side. So I don't see how recriminalizing it is going to help anything. I mean, I get that they have to figure out the treatment system, but recriminalizing it's not going to help. I mean, granted, it's great that she still is pushing people into treatment, but why are we criminalizing it then? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Those pressures prompted Oregon Democrats to shift their stance on decriminalization policy in recent months. Some who historically supported the measure voted for the new law during this year's short legislative session, while other Democratic lawmakers opposed the measure, concerned it would result in more arrests and exacerbate social inequalities. It ultimately passed the Democrat-controlled legislature last month. I'm still confused. I agree with the Democrats that are saying that this will result in more arrests and exacerbate social inequalities. I just don't understand. I get that she's put a part of the law that puts these people into rehab, into giving services to kick the addiction as opposed to jail, but that's what the old law was doing. So I just don't see why recriminalizing it was considered the solution here, especially when they're saying that these people are going to get help. Okay, how? GOP leaders have long sought to overhaul Measure 110. After Codex signing, House Minority Leader Jeff Helfrich said the law illustrated how Republicans stood united and forced Democrats to restore criminal penalties. The change takes effect September 1st. Now, I don't know what the ratio is. Just because the Democrats have majority doesn't mean it's a big majority. So it's entirely possible that it's not so much that the Democrats wanted this law, but that doesn't explain why the governor signed it. All it says is that Congress was in a position where they had no choice. But unless there's a veto-proof majority, that shouldn't be a problem. So I don't understand why recriminalizing was considered fair. Anyway, that is the end of that article. So yeah, it's not quite as bad as I was afraid it was going to be, but at the same time, it's still not good. I still don't see how recriminalization is going to help anything except that it gave the Republicans a win. That is literally all it does. Again, it's great that there's still going to be help for the people who possess, but at the same time, you could have done that without recriminalizing. What was passed by the voters was just that. So I failed to see how recriminalizing it was better, how that could help the implementation issues that they were having. I just do not see that. Anyway, that's all I have for this article, so I will see you guys in the next article, next video.